help you out with another couple of Thanksgiving sides. And since potatoes are a tradition with many of us, I'm gonna share not one, but two potato sides. Starting with my mom Myra's mashed potato casserole. Now, yes, oh my gosh, this is my dream. This potato casserole has been with me since I was a tiny little baby. It is my favorite thing. She has to make it every single big holiday feast. But I'm gonna make it for you today to show you what to do. It's super simple and totally delish. So I've got 5 pounds of boiled potatoes, and I boiled them in nice salted water. That's your first step to getting seasoning into those potatoes. They're nice and tender and delicious, but now I'm gonna add in even more deliciousness. So I've got 1/3 cup of butter right here that I'm just gonna take out and add into there, along with a cup of cream cheese. Now this is like a Myra Berg Ridge, always adding cream cheese to potatoes because she goes big for Thanksgiving. To be honest, Thanksgiving is our favorite holiday because it's basically like Christmas without the stress. Get all the food, none of the present buying, which is key. Now into there as well, I'm gonna add in a cup-ish of sour cream. Now, if you wanted to here, you could also use a little bit of buttermilk. That would be great. But sour cream to me brings a lot of lightness, a lot of like creamy kind of tanginess. So I'm just adding that on in. And then I like to start with a potato masher. That gives me a good rough mash to get going. It gets all this cream cheese and butter and everything melted in. Also, you get a little bit of a workout to start, which is always a good thing when you're about to eat 5 pounds of potatoes. To be honest, anytime we are making potatoes for my family, I always double a recipe because we are all in our potato era. We love potatoes. Now, one thing I will say, people who are watching their salt content, feel free to hold back, but I do not hold back with salt and potatoes because potatoes love salt. Now, I don't actually really like pepper in my mashed potatoes, so I leave it out, but if you like it, feel free to add. I'm gonna add in a little bit of salt. I'm gonna hide how much salt I'm putting in. Yeah. And I'm gonna blitz those up. Now, if you like a chunky potato, you can leave it chunky, but we are a slightly whipped potato family. So we just whip it up, but the key with mashed potatoes is you don't wanna overmix them. If you overmix them, they get a little gluey and a little gummy, and we don't want that. So I would keep mixing that until it's nice and the consistency that you like, and then we end up with these babies. Oh my gosh, those look amazing. Oh my gosh, they smell so good. The cream cheese in there smells so good. Now, going back over here though, hot tip, clean this immediately. If you have ever tried cleaning old potatoes off a potato masher, they're not part of that potato masher. It's concrete, you're never getting them off, so wash that right away. Now, for the casserole portion of this, I'm gonna transfer all of these amazing mashed potatoes into a greased casserole dish. And this is where you get to feel kind of like a lunch supervisor, like a big old scoop and a big old that, always good. Scooping potatoes with a giant spoon is one of the few pure joys in life. Truly delightful. Now, if you were me at home making this, I would not scrape this out too well because anything left in this pot is the chef's snack. Yeah. You get to keep it, always good. Now just spread all of those potatoes out, and then we're gonna top them with classic Myra Berg toppings. So the first thing I need is 2 cups, 2 cups, that's what I'm doing, of grated cheddar cheese. Now Myra goes with a medium cheddar, but you could also do an old cheddar, you could go white cheddar, even a smoked cheddar would be good. But for me, medium cheddar, absolutely delicious. So just scatter that all over the top. And then another classic Myra Berg ingredient, crushed up cornflakes. I know, it sounds strange, but it is delicious. It brings like a crispiness to the top, and it also gets stuck down by all that cheese. Those amazing little cornflakes cook up. They're a little bit sweet, definitely crunchy. Just cover that whole surface. And then, just in case there's not enough stuff going on in here, I've got a little bit of butter that I'm gonna dot over top, which is gonna melt into those cornflakes and be absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Now at this point, you could cover this casserole and pop it in your fridge for up to 3 days. It's a great prep ahead recipe. Once you're ready to bake, just pop it in your oven. But I'm gonna pop this one into my 350 oven for 30 minutes. If you had it in the fridge before, I would probably say add another 10 to 15 on that time. So add that on in. And then we end up with this beaut. If I can get my oven mitts on. Oh, this is pure nostalgic joy for me right now, I'm not gonna lie. Look at those potatoes. Those are looking beautiful. In my house, any major holiday is all about the potatoes. And if your family loves potatoes as much as we do at Thanksgiving, but you want something a little bit more interesting than your straight up mashed, you've got to try this baby, my mom Myra's mashed potato casserole. It is so delicious. It's crispy on the top. You've got that cheddar cheese, got a little bit of cream cheese, anything with 2 cheese in it. I'm gonna like it. Always good. But if you're looking for something even crispier and more delicious, I'm gonna show you my secret to making the crispiest, most delicious roasted garlic potatoes. So over here, I have got about 4.5, kind of 5-ish pounds of potatoes. And I'm gonna tell you my 4 tips to get the crispiest roast potatoes in your house. So the first tip is you want to parboil these, or basically boil them until they are nice and fork tender. So just like with those mashed potatoes, I did them in salted water, but I also added 2 teaspoons of baking soda into the water. I know, sounds a little weird, huh? But that's my second tip for crispy potatoes. What the baking soda does is it makes the water a little bit more basic on the pH scale, which then increases the chance of the Maillard reaction, which is also known as golden brown, which is the best flavor. Basically, you're kind of like pretzeling these potatoes, giving them a nice golden brown outside. So they've steamed dry in a colander, and they're looking delish. So I'm gonna transfer those on into a bowl. I love a giant bowl of potatoes. That looks like the fall to me. Now I'm gonna bring these over here and I wanna add in some garlic. Now I want nice, sweet, delicious roasted garlic flavor. So I've got about 6 cloves here, but I've got the skin on because I want it to roast up in those skins because then it stays nice and tender and delicious. But to get some of that garlic flavor out, I'm gonna give them a light, just the lightest little crack. That's gonna crack those skins open, allow a little bit of that flavor to come out. And if you have any difficult relatives coming over, you just gotta think about that while you do a little bap. You know, good to go. Get some emotions out. We're good to go. All right. So we've got our 6 garlic cloves in there. And now my third tip when you are trying to get crispy potatoes is add on about 4 tablespoons of oil. And you want to actually toss these together. You know how with those mashed potatoes I told you not to overmix them? You don't want to overmix them because they get kind of gluey. But with these potatoes, you actually kind of do want to mix them up a bunch because what that's going to do is it's going to develop starch on the outside of these potatoes. So you basically want to toss these for about a minute. You want the outside of the potatoes to look really rough and almost like they're coated in mashed potatoes. If you really want crispy potatoes, you can also cheat and add a little bit of cornstarch. I wouldn't tell anybody. Get some real crispy crunchy. But give those a good toss. Season those with salt. And in this case, I do like pepper on these potatoes, so I will add some pepper. Again, no pepper in mashed potatoes in my house, but pepper on all other potatoes. And when you come to someone's house for Thanksgiving, you get to eat things their way, because you're the chef. You get to decide. All right, give those a toss up. And again, I would toss these for about a minute. Even if you can see, they're starting to get a little like rough and tumble on the outside, a little like kind of chuffed up, if you will. Now, my 4th and final tip for super crispy roast potatoes is to take these bad boys to the oven. I've got a pan in my oven, and it's got 2 tablespoons of oil already on that pan, and it is heating in a 450-degree oven. So seriously hot. But that little bit of oil on here onto this hot pan is gonna immediately start that roasting process. So just transfer those potatoes on carefully. Hear that sizzle? That's what you're looking for. And I would roast those for about 20 minutes. Then I'd give them a toss, add on some herbs, and then you get these little babies, which look totally crispy and delicious. A little bit of sage on there. They look totally dreamy. Now to plate these babies up, just grab a little spatula. Oh my gosh, they're so crunchy. Oh, I love a crunchy potato. And just transfer those onto a platter. All that garlic that's roasted up with those potatoes is gonna be like creamy a little bit. You can mash that into some sour cream and pop that on your table. Put it in some butter. And that crispy sage, don't get rid of that. All that sage has roasted up too. It's nice and crisp and delicious. But to freshen these babies up, I like to zest over a little bit of lemon zest just to give a bit of freshness. But the heat of those potatoes will lightly cook that lemon zest, so it won't be too bright, but really, really nice. And then since it's Thanksgiving and you're having your favorites over, use some fancy flaky salt all over the top. Oh my gosh, so my dinner's done. Those crispy potatoes look amazing, but I cannot say no to this potato casserole, so I'm gonna give it a little taste. Through that crispy, cheesy, corn flaky crust. The edge is always the best because it's golden brown. Let's give it a go. Oh my gosh, there you have it. We've got a creamy, delicious mashed potato, crispy potatoes for your Thanksgiving table. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.